What is going on, YouTubers? It is your boy Alyx, man, and this is a reaction video. Today, I am going to listen to a very controversial interview. Well, not overall controversial. I'm going to listen to an interview done by Alyx that has some controversial statements about wrestling fans. This interview has spread all over the wrestling dirt sheets. It's everywhere. It's even on my Facebook page if you would like to read about it. But what I want to do, I want to hear it from his mouth. I want to hear what he said based off of the interview and then comment on that. So I'm going to play the portion of the interview where he talks about the wrestling fans and why he genuinely hates them. If it's not really a big deal and I end up agreeing with them, awesome. But the whole point of this video is to understand where he's coming from. And then if I don't agree, I'll explain why I don't agree. But hopefully we can come to an understanding of why the wrestling fans are the way they are and shed some light on why they act the way they do. And at the end of the day, if Alyx does watch this, the whole point, man, is to show you that, look, we all want the same thing. We all want the wrestling business to grow, flourish, and be as great or as big as it once was. Because we had a conversation over Twitter. I opened up the video showing you some tweets. Reading tweets is one thing. If you hear it, it's a different thing. So I'm going to do my best not to be confrontational. I will be as professional as possible. So I am done talking. Let's hear this interview by Alyx.
Just what do you think about the future of TNA? Are they going to finally, like, they've been doing well, holding on for a long time, but
yeah.
Do you think they're going to
I hope so.
to the next level? Or?
I hope so. Gosh, I hope so, because, you know, the wrestling business needs TNA. The wrestling fans need TNA. The wrestlers need TNA. Everybody involved or has some kind of interest or passion for wrestling should want to see TNA succeed. Vince, I guarantee you, probably wants to see it succeed because he wants to see it flourish because he wants to have somebody to compete with, and we need it. We need it desperately, and I don't understand. There's a lot about wrestling fans these days I don't understand.
Okay, let me stop real quick and comment on that. I get the whole aspect of competition. You know, you push one another to be better. You do things that this company isn't doing and draw this audience. That's how the business grows. You have two different entities that are doing great in numbers, doing great in money, doing great in business, and is grabbing different parts of entertainment. And what it does, like WCW and WWF did back in the day, it gives platforms for these wrestlers to come in and perform their craft. A DDP most likely would not have gotten over in WWF, but he got over in WCW. Vice versa for Stone Cold Steve Austin and Undertaker, and he's right about that. I believe TNA, when it was done right, it did help the wrestling business. You know, people like Samoa Joe and AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels and Kazarian, James Storm, Bobby Roode, they got the platform to showcase themselves, to be big names in the business because they worked in TNA. And I do agree with Alyx on that part. What I don't necessarily agree with him with is, yeah, TNA does provide a platform for these wrestlers. But you have to agree that there are wrestling companies out there that limit these wrestlers from really doing something. Come on. You know, I hear it all the time. You can't do this move. You can't say this. You can't say that. We had to appeal to this audience, so you are banned from doing this. And if you do this, I'm going to find you. And TNA has been known to do that a lot. Not as much as WWE does, granted. But Christopher Daniels and Kazarian did an entire interview of how when they were trying to get over in TNA, they never became tag team champions. They never really was given the keys to really make a run. Wrestling companies should always be benefiting these wrestlers, and I don't feel like TNA is doing that.
They're the goofiest bunch of people I've ever met. They really are. I genuinely hate them. I really do. I love the fact that they're fans, but I hate them. And this goes back to kayfabe. We used to have kayfabe out of respect for the business, and because that's what kayfabe was, and it was respect for the fans. And here's why. Opinion is the lowest form of human knowledge. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can form an opinion with little or no actual information. And then you can go around and spout it off as if it's a real fact, when it's nothing more than theory, conjecture, and assumption. That's all it is. It's just that. Real knowledge is not information. It takes a matter of information and experience together that make real knowledge. So you have a bunch of people, fans, that now have access and are privy to information, but have no actual experience.
I get where he's coming from. Here's my rebuttal. I don't need to be a chef to know if a steak is not fully cooked. I don't need to be a basketball coach to know that my basketball team sucks. I just need to watch a game, multiple games, see that they are being outplayed, they're being outscored, they suck at defense, they can't handle the ball, they can't make shots. I don't have to be a teacher to know that this kid over here sucks at math. I really don't like this mentality that we as fans can't criticize, we can't have opinions, we can't say that this particular wrestler is not good at what he does, or we just feel like, oh, he's not really appealing to us. We can't express ourselves on that because, well, you're not a wrestler. You don't need to be a wrestler. I don't watch TNA now, so I can't give a TNA example. Oh, I can. Ethan Carter III. There you go. EC3. I know who that is. So, EC3, who is one of the best workers ever, and I still believe WWE letting him go was a huge mistake. I don't get why they let him go. Regardless, Ethan Carter III is amazing on the microphone. If I see this guy who isn't delivering his promo very well, he's not really saying much, he's not connecting with the audience, what he's saying is not connecting with me, it's not making me hate him, it's not making me want to see him get beat, it's not making me want to cheer for him. He's just saying words and then he just sounds uninterested, he just sounds not excited. And I see this guy, EC3, doing all that stuff. I have enough material to go, you're not very good on the microphone. You know, I don't need to be a wrestler in the business cutting 20,000 promos or in-ring segments or whatever. I don't have to be that wrestler in the business to understand that guy doesn't know what he's doing on the microphone.
Since they have the information, they think they now have knowledge and an understanding of a business that they've never been in and have never had any experience. What's the problem with that? Is that it leads to assumptions and it leads to conjecture and it also leads to contempt. Familiarity breeds contempt. No matter what it is, the more familiar you become with it, the more contemptuous you become with it. And now you have a group of people, granted a minority, that are very vocal and they're very contemptuous based on information.
Gotta stop you right there. At this point in time, and I love wrestling, I love Lucha Underground, I am very supportive of wrestling companies outside of the WWE. That includes ROH, New Japan Pro Wrestling, PWG, Shikara, I could go on all day, Shine. Anytime I see a wrestling company really make it with some kind of a channel, a major channel, they get themselves a contract to actually showcase themselves to a bigger audience. High five, man. Awesome. To me, that's a victory for wrestling. If you are watching wrestling nowadays, you have to be a hardcore fan. There is no way in hell. Majority of the people that watch wrestling are casual viewers. There is no way in hell. We're at a point in wrestling now where we've been through so much crap. We've done so much stuff. It's become so formulaic. It's become so pandering. What we've done with the wrestling business, we have created our own world where we believe that if you do it this way, this is the only way you're going to get over. And if you don't do it this way, we're not going to use you. We have compartmentalized the wrestling business to a point where the only people who would love it, who would get into it, are the hardcore fans. So this idea that the minority are the hardcore contemptuous, and I'll get to that in a second, contemptuous fans, it's not true. The internet is all over the place. Everybody has the internet. The internet is on my phone. And he knows this. He has a phone like this, I guarantee you. Kids in elementary school have access to cell phones and internet that they can go into anytime. iPads, laptops. The internet is everywhere. Information is going to get out. You have to work with it. You have to be able to work within those boundaries. You know, you can't be mad that it got out there. It got out there. They're putting it out there, and it's been out there for decades now.
That they really truly don't have any understanding or reasoning of why we do what we do, when we do it, or how we do it, but now assume they do because of information they have and become contemptuous of it. But they'll still watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what makes it worse is we have people on the inside of the business, performers, writers, etc., management, who live in a wrestling bubble.
Okay, see?
Who now cater to this contemptuous vocal minority as opposed to catering to the largest audience, which is the general audience that don't really know much about or care much about wrestling other than, hey, I want to be entertained. That's it.
And that's the end of the interview. That last statement, there was some truth to that. I actually want to give him some credit. I'm happy that he's acknowledging that they live in a bubble. And sometimes I can get wrapped up in, okay, this is what I like. This is what I adore. This is what I watch wrestling for. So clearly this is what everybody else watches wrestling for because my opinion matters and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, and that's something that's going to happen. And there are wrestling fans out there that believe that. And I'm not saying he's not wrong. My issue with this entire interview, and this is something I will say, amongst a wrestling business of idiots, people who don't know what they're doing, people who are more concerned about putting money in their pockets than creating a product or maintaining respect for the wrestling business, and out of professional pride, delivering the best product they can to their audience so they'll come back for more and more and more. I think Al Snow is one of the very few who truly, genuinely want to see the wrestling business flourish. And I think deep down, although he says he genuinely hates wrestling fans, what he's really saying is he can't understand them. He can't comprehend why they feel this way. Why people like me don't like companies like TNA. Why do you like all these other companies but not TNA? TNA is helping the wrestling business. Well, because TNA doesn't have any respect for the wrestling business. Now, I just said something that I'm pretty sure he doesn't like to hear, but I think he knows that. I think Al Snow knows damn well that the people running TNA don't know what they're doing. They don't know where to go with their business. They are so flawed that even in the same interview he was asked about, is it TNA or Empire Wrestling? You know, he was like, well, I don't know. Dude, you're working with a wrestling company that doesn't even know what their identity is. Why are you there? You know, that was my question to him. Why are you there? Why doesn't Al Snow, as smart as he is, why doesn't Al Snow go run his own wrestling company? Go work with a Tommy Dreamer. Go work with a GFW, a PWG. Why aren't you showing us how it's done? And I know he can. That's my challenge to Al Snow. Why don't you use your mind, because you're smart. You know what you're talking about. Clearly, I'm not going to say anything negative about Al Snow and his views on wrestling, because I believe, although I don't agree with everything he says, he's smart. He knows what he's talking about. But a guy like that, in my personal opinion, should be running shit. You shouldn't be answering to someone like a Dixie Carter. I don't know who's running TNA. I think it's some guy named Gaborik, or John Gaborik. Yeah, that's who it is. Why are you answering to these guys, dude? We all, in our own ways, want wrestling to be fun. We want the best for wrestling. We want the wrestling business to be just as good as it was during the Attitude Era, during old school WWF times, during the Monday Night Wars, during the 90s, during a hot period when wrestling was just as good, was just as mainstream as football, as basketball, as any other sport that we know of to be, you know, cool with the people. But I guess it's contemptuous for someone like me to want that. I guess it's contemptuous for me to not like a particular aspect, to not like the people in the business that's stopping us from getting there. And one thing I wish I could do, if I had $1 million right now, if someone was to give me $1 million, I would open up my own wrestling promotion. What if someone like me, who is a purist for wrestling, that loves a good hardcore match, but also likes technical wrestling, cruiserweights, female wrestling, a variety. I am a huge proponent of variety. What if someone like me was to take my ideas that he calls contemptuous, and I end up bringing a new audience? Isn't that the whole point? Isn't the whole point, like he said in this interview, supposed to grow the business? Don't blame the fans. Don't get mad at the fans for not liking what your company is putting out. Maybe just maybe TNA is just not doing a very good job. Maybe just maybe Al Snow, you're not where you need to be. Maybe just maybe Al Snow, you should consider going somewhere else. Because I honestly believe this bitterness that you show in this interview stems from you working in TNA. It does. Now, I'm not saying that there are some people in WWE that don't feel this way and other companies that don't feel this way, because they might. But if they do, they have an issue. They have a major issue, because when people say someone like me is contemptuous for wanting the best for wrestling, what they're really saying is, I don't understand you. I am not in touch with you. Well, man, look. Just listen to what I'm saying. All you have to do is listen. When you put someone out there and they go, we want that guy, take him, nurture him, package him, and give the fans what they want. Build a storyline. Develop a character. Give them a match. You know this. We all want the same thing. But that was my initial reaction to the interview. Give me your thoughts about this, what he had to say, down below in the comment section. And also down below in the description box, I will put the full link to this interview if you would like to listen to it yourself. But there you go, guys. That's my thoughts. This is your boy, Alyx signing off.